Okay, let's talk about some things that you need to know about in the real world of iOS mobile development. And that is how Maven and Azure DevOps in iOS development, how they fit into the big picture. This is what you need to understand. Why would an iOS developer need to understand Maven and Azure DevOps for a software engineering job, particularly one that is centered around Xcode and Swift and Swift UI? Because basically, when you go to your tech boot camp, you're learning Swift syntax and things that go with Xcode, and maybe you might learn a little bit about the terminal and Git. But let me explain something to you. While iOS development primarily involves using tools like Xcode and languages like Swift or Objective-C, understanding tools like Maven, Azure, DevOps can be beneficial for several reasons. One, cross-platform development. Some companies use cross-platform frameworks that allow you to write code once and run it in both iOS and Android. Some of these frameworks, like Java-based ones, might use Maven for building the project. So even as an iOS developer, you might encounter situations where knowledge of Maven is useful. Team collaboration. Azure DevOps is a platform that helps teams to plan work, collaborate on code development, and deploy applications. Even if you're primarily working on iOS development, you might need to interact with this platform to manage tasks, bugs, or to integrate your work with others. Continuous integration, continuous deployment, CI/CD. Azure DevOps provides CI/CD pipelines, even though Xcode has its own CI/CD tool called Xcode Server. Some companies prefer to use a unified platform like Azure DevOps for all their CI/CD needs. Regardless of the platform, understanding how it is set up and manage these pipelines can be a valuable skill. Versatility. The world of software development is vast and interconnected. Tools and platforms often overlap in unexpected ways. Having a broad understanding of different tools make you a more versatile developer. It allows you to understand and participate in more parts of the development process. Job requirements. Some job roles require knowledge of specific tools, even for roles focused on iOS development. The company might use Azure DevOps for project management, CI/CD, and they might want you to have some familiarity with it. Remember, while it's good to have a broad understanding, don't feel like you need to become an expert on everything. Tools like Maven and Azure DevOps are vast in their own right, and you can always learn more details as needed for your projects and tasks. Now, let's explain the relationship between Maven, Azure DevOps in the context of building an iOS app that uses Xcode and Swift UI. So imagine you're building a complex Lego model. You have your Lego pieces, which are like your code, and you have the instructions to put them together, which are like Maven. Maven is a tool that helps you assemble all the pieces of your code in the right order. It makes sure that everything fits together correctly and that you have all the pieces you need. Now imagine you're working on this Lego model with a team and you're adding pieces to it. You're all adding pieces to it. You need a way to make sure everyone is working on the right part at the right time and that the changes that everyone makes fit together. You'd also want to check that the model is still stable after each change. And you want a way to show off your model to others when it's ready. That's where Azure DevOps comes in. Azure DevOps is like the team leader who coordinates everyone's work. It keeps track of all the changes that each person makes, and that's the version control part. It also automatically checks that the model is still stable after each change by using Maven to put pieces together and check everything. And that's the continuous integration part. Finally, it helps you show off your model to others by putting it in the right place where it's ready. That's the continual delivery part. Now, in the context of building an iOS app with Xcode and SwiftUI, Xcode is like your Lego building table, and SwiftUI is a special set of Lego pieces designed to make cool, interactive models, or in this case, iOS apps. Maven can help manage and assemble the pieces of your SwiftUI code, and Azure DevOps can help coordinate the work of your team, automatically check that your app still works after each change, and deliver the final app to the App Store or other places where users can get it. So Maven and Azure DevOps work together to help you and your team build your iOS app more efficiently and reliably. The workflow goes like this. So you have your branch, your feature branch, right? You make your changes, you do your add, right? So now your stuff is almost ready to be staged, and you commit it. Now, after you commit, right here, you do your push to GitHub. When you do your push to GitHub, you'll go after you do your push, your git push, you'll go to your GitHub remote repo, and you'll create the PR based on that latest push. You create your PR on GitHub. Azure DevOps does a PR build. Maven does a build and test. Then once it passes your build, once the build works, and then the tests that you've attached to your project, once they pass, then you can merge your PR onto the main branch. I want you guys to remember what I just said. Remember this, because this is how it works in the real world. This is a diagram, another diagram. Commit, push, Maven does a build, right? You do your and you create your PR, and Maven tests and package. You get your Maven output, right? And that Maven output is ready to be deployed. Do your git PR, you merge, and then what you deploy and your merge comes out in your main branch. It's in your Azure main branch. Okay, so this is another way to look at it. Yeah. So that's that for now, and yeah. Comment below. Hopefully this helps you. If you follow this and study this, this will definitely come into play, maybe in a job interview. But this is stuff you kind of have a broad idea of how it works to get a job that is not just an entry-level beginner job or some type of internship or real job that pays real money. All right, so on to the next.